So today we're making some Chick-fil-Chad sandwiches.
They're similar to Chick-fil-A sandwiches, but I think these are better. We're going to make them in an air fryer, and they're going to be much healthier this way. So I think you'll really enjoy them. They're not that difficult to make. We're also going to make a sauce for these puppies, which is quite delicious. We're also going to use our MSG dill pickles. The link for that video will be in the description below. Those MSG dill pickles make this sandwich delicious. We're going to start out by preparing our chicken, and then we're going to put it in some pickle juice. We're going to let it sit in the pickle juice for several hours. So here's a sneak peek at the end product. Okay, there's our chicken sandwich. Let's give her a try. She looks delicious. So this recipe is going to make about 10 chicken fillets. And what I like to do is make sure you clean up the chicken really well. These are actually pretty clean pieces. Large chicken breasts. So I'm going to cut these in half. And then I'm going to smash them because you want to have the meat somewhat even so they all cook evenly. So these thicker sides like this one, I'm going to smash with a smasher and make them even. Okay, so get yourself a squisher and pound these flat. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to cut some small slits in these, and this will allow the breading to hold on to the chicken much better. So go ahead and do this to all 10 of your chickens, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, take all the chickens you prepared and stick them in a big Ziploc bag. Okay, in your Ziploc bag, put about 1.5 cups of pickle juice and 1/2 cup of water. Okay, zip it up, give it a mix, and stick it in the fridge for at least 6 hours. And you can do this up to 24 hours if you really want this to be really quite wonderful. So next we're going to make some Chick-fil-Chad sauce. Okay, you're going to need 1/2 cup of mayonnaise, about 1/2 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, 3 teaspoons of yellow mustard, 3 tablespoons of barbecue sauce, preferably a hickory flavored, and I'm using this Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce because it has no sugar added. And then add 2 tablespoons of local honey for the health benefits, a teaspoon of paprika. You could also use smoked paprika if you wanted to, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice, a 1/4 teaspoon of distilled white vinegar, a pinch of the King of Flavors, MSG. That's optional, but you should do it. And then 1/2 teaspoon of mustard powder. And then give this a mix with your tiny whisk. And you want to give this a taste. That's pretty good. And at this point, then you just have to decide, do you want to add a little bit more mayo or mustard or whatever you want to do. But you'll have to make this your own. Right now we're going to make our spice mix. Half the spice mix we're going to cover our chicken before we put in the egg wash. The other half of the spice mix is going to go in our flour mixture that we're going to divide in half, and then we're going to use that to dip it in the flour, dip it in the eggs, dip it in the flour, and then cook it. So first we're going to use a tablespoon of paprika, and we're going to use a tablespoon of smoked paprika, tablespoon of black pepper, tablespoon of chili powder, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1/2 tablespoon of cayenne pepper, and a teaspoon of our friend MSG. Okay, mix it up nicely. At this point, you can taste the spices and see if you want to add a little bit more of the ingredients or add something else to make it delicious. So after your chicken sat for several hours, if not overnight, take them out, stick them in your bowl, and then we're going to add half of the spices we just made. And you're going to want to mix these up really well. Okay, in another bowl, we're going to make the egg wash. You're going to want to put 2 cups in a bowl and then add 2 eggs. And then use your tiny whisk to whisk this together. This egg wash will help your breading stick to your chicken. And then take your egg wash and pour it over your chicken and mix it thoroughly. And then you want to cover this with some press and seal wrap and put it in the fridge for about 2 to 3 hours. Okay, we're going to make our breading now. So in a bowl, add 3 cups of flour. Add a half a cup of powdered sugar for sweetness. And add a cup and a half of cornstarch. This helps to make the breading crunchy and fluffy and craggly. Okay, add the rest of your spice mix. Then whisk it up really well with your tiny whisk. Then what you're going to do is you're going to split this up into 2 large Ziploc bags. And we're going to use it as 2 breading stations later in the process.
All right, for this demonstration, I'm only making 1 chicken. But when you make this for realsies, you want to do this in batches.
Okay, so our chicken sat in the egg wash for about 3 hours. So what I have done is I have split up the flour, as I described, into 2 bags, and I've labeled them bag 1, bag 2. Take your chicken out of the egg wash, stick it in bag 1, zip it, and shake it up really good. And get all of your chicken covered in flour, all the little crevices. And then we're going to set this out and let it sit for 15 minutes. Pro tip, use a fork to lift this up, because otherwise it removes some of your breading. So what you're going to do next is put it back in your egg wash, mix it around. So I'm going to bring this here, okay? So get your chicken back, let it drip off, and then you're going to put it in the flour bag number 2. And make sure that it gets coated really, really well. Okay, same business. Coat it really, really well. Get all the little nooks and crannies coated. Okay, it looks nice and craggly. And then we're going to stick it back on our tray for 15 minutes.
Okay, get your air fryer preheated. Hit air fry or follow your manufacturer's instructions. We're going to set this to 380 and we're going to set this for 10 minutes. Go ahead and hit start. And then after it's cooked, you want to make sure that the internal temperature is 165 before you eat it, or otherwise you're going to get salmonella and you can get diarrhea for a week. Okay, after the second 15 minutes are up, we're going to take some of our Chosen Foods avocado oil, still looking for a sponsor. And then you're going to spray your chicken, okay? Not too heavily, but spray it nicely. And then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of black pepper. Some of this more coarse stuff is better. So sprinkle that on there and then give your chicken a massage. And then we're going to flip it over. Do the same thing on the other side. Okay, open up your air fryer. Give it a nice little spray. Put it in your air fryer. Make it look nice. Stick it in and we'll flip it halfway. Okay, go ahead and flip your chicken. This is halfway. That is looking amazing. So again, pro tip, use your fork. And if you see any dry spots there, you want to spray it. But that looks pretty dang good. So I'm going to flip it over. Whoa. Uh-oh, broke it. Sadness. Give it a little spray if you want to. And then stick it back in for the remaining time. Okay, time's up. That looks pretty dang amazing. So what do you think? It's nice and crunchy. Okay, let's check the internal temperature of that puppy to make sure it's 165. Yep, it's 184. Check the outer edge, 196. Somewhere where it's a little thicker. Yep, that's good to go. Let's build our sandwich.
Okay, first thing you're going to do is you get yourself a nice scoop of sauce. Put some sauce on the bottom. Okay, put some sauce on the top. Put your chicken on the sandwich. You put some pickles, some MSG dill pickles on your sandwich. Okay, as many as you want. And go ahead and put that puppy up on top and let's give it a taste. Okay, there's our chicken sandwich. Let's give her a try. She looks delicious. So the chicken doesn't have a ton of flavor. However, the sauce has a ton of flavor and the pickles are amazing. So don't get too crazy about that, but this is pretty good. So let's give it a taste. Okay, there's an inside shot. Let's give this a taste. Oh, that's pretty tasty. You guys are going to love this. Make it. Bye-bye. What are we doing right now? It's a pretty good chicken sandwich there, Papa. Kitty, you want some chicken? Want some chicken, Kitty? Oh, you want some chicken? And we're gonna make them in an air fryer. These sandwich. I don't know, Seth. This is you get to be here because I don't have the brain capacity for all these fine details. Guaranteed the sauce is super flavorful, and the pickle's gonna add a lot of flavor. What? Actually, flavorful. And what was I gonna say? The last thing? No. I was gonna say something in English.
Right on the set.